The first characteristic of entrepreneurial knowledge is that it is subjective and practical, rather than scientific. What does this mean? Practical knowledge. Praxis. Praxis in Greek means action. As you see, we are turning over the same idea again and again. Entrepreneurial knowledge is subjective. It has a subject. And practical in the sense that one cannot acquire it in a formal manner. As I have said before, as a young boy, I was a bookworm. I studied all day long. But I focused on the other type of knowledge, the type that is of almost no importance, lousy scientific knowledge. But I was very proud. I would take a book, a math book for instance, and memorize the contents, geography. I knew all the rivers, etc. So I was a straight A student, and a little pedantic. My grandfather kept my feet on the ground. He used to say, "Son, you've earned very good grades, all A pluses, but there are many things in life you can't learn from books." How right my grandfather was. And our topic today, subjective, practical, entrepreneurial knowledge, is precisely everything you cannot learn from a book. The first characteristic of entrepreneurial knowledge is that it is subjective and practical. Therefore, we cannot obtain it in any medium by a formal, objective method. Instead, we can only acquire it through the concrete exercise of entrepreneurship at a specific time and in a specific place. We can only discover or create that knowledge or grasp it entrepreneurially by acting as entrepreneurs. In other words, we must be on the job, and we must take chances. I cannot learn how to win a girl over by reading a manual. How to attract women. Step 1, Step 2. No, I may have some idea, but what I have to do is take action. And then, bam! This girl gives me the brush off, and that girl gives me the brush off. And when 18 women have brushed me off, I will have begun to develop, through experience, some subjective, practical knowledge of how to attract women. Entrepreneur. Do you think a person can learn how to be an entrepreneur? No. Some universities have a faculty of entrepreneurial sciences. What conceit! What nonsense! That ought to be illegal, and the dean should be thrown in jail. Entrepreneurial sciences. Listen, if it were possible to learn in college how to be an entrepreneur, there would be no economic problems. The more years we spent at the university, the more millions we would earn later. Mr. Moneybags spent 10 years, 15 million. Pompously named faculties of entrepreneurial sciences teach only repetitive skills for low-ranking employees. The only way to learn how to be an entrepreneur is to put your money on the line in actual entrepreneurial projects. You learn by losing money and by making money. For I repeat, entrepreneurial knowledge is knowledge that can only be acquired by the subject, which is why we say it is subjective and practical, through the performance of the relevant action in its particular circumstances of time and place. You say to yourselves, all right, I've gone to college, and I've studied business or audiovisual communications. I'm going out into the world, and I have a right to a job and a salary of 50,000 euros a year, because I know something now. You know nothing. Not until a company hires you and you begin to solve concrete problems through action. Also, company owners complain, college graduates are untrained and unproductive. What foolish company owners! How foolish! A lemon tree does not bear apples. You are never going to find trained college graduates, because the knowledge those people need to help you in your company is knowledge they can gain only by working for your company, for several months or for several years, and by making mistakes, etc. And if company owners are foolish, university officials are doubly foolish when they say, let's design a university that is more closely connected with the business world, so that graduates finish school prepared to solve concrete problems. And in the end, what happens to the university? As its name indicates, a university must present a universal view of scientific knowledge, a view that serves as a foundation for reflection and research. Well, the university becomes insignificant. It becomes a mere factory that churns out accountants or supposed finance specialists. And the concept of the university is destroyed and disappears. Listen, do you think a person can learn from a book how to paint like Velázquez? How do you think Velázquez learned to paint? His father realized that the boy had talent, that he could draw very well. So what did the father think of doing? Instead of obliging him to study law or medicine, he sent the promising boy to be an apprentice. An apprentice in a painter's workshop. A 12-year-old boy in a painter's workshop. Do you think he started painting as soon as he arrived? No. He spent his first years there sweeping the floor, taking out the garbage, and emptying the chamber pots. But in an environment in which there were people painting, a master craftsman, journeymen, and apprentices. As you know, 12-year-old children are like sponges. At that age, our brains soak everything up. And Diego Velázquez was no fool. Chances are he paid attention to the techniques the painters used. He probably noticed the way they painted a cloud or finished a sky. Maybe there was a young painter 4 years older than him, someone he admired, and the eager Velázquez would ask to prepare the oils for him. No, you're too young. And a couple of years later, after much persistence, maybe the older boy let him prepare a mixture of colors. And then, perhaps when he was 16, there was a night when another painter was worn out and needed to finish a painting by morning. And perhaps he said, "Hey, Diego, those blues up in that corner, finish them for me, will you?" And Diego thought, "This is my chance." And there he was, adding a little blue here and a little blue there. That's the way it works. Don't laugh. That's the way it happened. Velázquez learned how to paint by painting, because that is a practical, subjective type of knowledge. Just as you will take your first steps as film directors or entrepreneurs in any sphere by directing, in an environment in which others are directing, you will watch them. And then when your chance comes, you will take it. Therefore, the first characteristic of entrepreneurial knowledge is that it can only be gained through experience. You cannot acquire it from books, and it is always tied to specific circumstances of time and place.